Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Colleen and today's a busy day in the kitchen. I'm going to be canning pineapple today, eventually. Right now I have peeled up 10 pounds of potatoes and I'm going to get them in the sink to soak off some of the starch, and then I'll be able to move on to the pineapple. It's that kind of a day where I've got multiple things going on and I don't want to make this too long, so I will see you back here in just a moment. Welcome back, folks. I've got my potatoes. I'm canning potatoes today, as well as canning pineapple. If you've never dry canned potatoes, you should go have a look at my dry canning potato recipe. Today, that's not my focus, it's the pineapple, but I will link that canning recipe for the dry canning potatoes in the description box below. So, on to the pineapple. I went into the grocery store looking for a couple of pineapples because we have a few jars over the winter we use for various things, and I do like to have my canning done by the end of August. And when I got to the store, it was to discover that the pineapples were $6.99 each. I'm not sure where you live, but that's about average here. And the ones that had already been cored and cleaned were $6.49 each. So I was saving myself some money at the same time as I was saving myself some time. The first thing we need to do is start the simple syrup that these will reside in. So I've got 5.5 cups of water right here. I'm going to put into my big pot, which is where the pineapple will end up going. And I'm going to add to that I'm going to taste this. You know, that's pretty sweet. So I think 2 cups of sugar is plenty for that, and that's a light syrup. And I'm going to put this on the stove and then we'll get back and address these pineapples. Now you may hear the stove over there warming up my canning kettle because I will be water bathing the pineapple. It's acceptable to do that because the pineapple is a very high acid food. So I like to just cut it into chunks, and let me move this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to go around the pineapple like so. Folks, if you've ever canned I know I shouldn't be pointing my knife at you. If you've ever eaten home canned pineapple, you would know why I do this, why I spend the time to can my own. Because it's just simply so much better, and we enjoy the flavor so much better than we do when we take the bits out of the can from the store. Now I don't do anything with these except do them in chunks because I don't know what I'm going to use them for in the end, whether I will need the pineapple that's all shredded up or whether I will need the pineapple that's chunky, or what I'm going to need. I can always manipulate it on the other end when I'm taking it out of the jars. Now a couple of these have a little bit more core than I enjoy, so I'm just going down the middles and taking the little strips of core off. That, you know, when you're coring with a coring tool, you're taking a shot in the dark about where the core actually is, and if it's a little bigger than what your guess is, then you end up with core. So you can see so far this is a pretty simple process. It doesn't take a lot of time and the result is pretty fantastic. I do enjoy water bath canning. For the most part, water bath canning is quite quick. Anything that you water bath can happens in a hurry because it's, you know, it's going to be the right acidity and it doesn't require as long. Mostly we water bath can things like jams and jellies and fruit. But definitely, when I think about it, although it's not recommended by the powers that be, I know that my family for sure water bath canned everything for generations, and I still can that way myself. And there are those who say that's a really risky business, but it's worked for my family. Everybody has to figure out their own level of risk when they do things like this. But pretty much when we're canning, we can think about if we've ever seen it on the store shelf. If we've seen it canned on a store shelf, then we can be sure that it can be canned. It's just figuring out the method for doing it, whether it's going to be a water bath or pressure canner. Some people aren't comfortable doing things in a pressure canner, and those would be the ones that are still hanging in there with their water bath canners. I'm just going to do up this last bit, and then I'm going to check my syrup to see if it needs a stir. Basically, for the syrup, you just need the syrup to dissolve the sugar. That's the biggest thing. You don't want bits of sugar in there because if they don't get totally dissolved, they have a way of finding each other and forming crystals in your jars, which you don't want either. Okay, so there are those bits. It's a really sticky proposition. I'm just going to check my syrup now. Well, my simple syrup is ready. I have just removed it from the stove. I can't see any signs of crystals in the simple syrup right now. And I know this is too much simple syrup for the amount of pineapple I have. So I'm just going to put some of this simple syrup into a jar. Oops, apparently I'm going to make a mess doing so. And I will set that aside for the next canning session of things that I'm doing. It may seem like the only time I can is when I'm on camera, but that is not how it goes. So there's always something going on in the kitchen for sure. So okay, I'm going to take this out of there, put it there for the moment, and then I'm going to put all the pineapple chunks right into the simple syrup. And I'm doing this because I want to put it back onto the stove and bring everything up to almost a boil, like a high simmer, to get all the fruit hot. This is a hot pack method, and before I put them in the jars. And if you could smell this, these pineapple were perfectly ripe, and I'd probably eaten enough to take a good layer of skin off my mouth. You know what I'm talking about, any of you that eat pineapple. And I still have so much syrup in there, more than I'm going to need for sure, that it covers the fruit. So there's plenty. So I will get this up to temperature and then I'll come back and show you the next step. Well, here I am back. You can probably see by the steam rising that these got really hot through. And I am ready to get them in the jars and in the canner. So I'm using the, what are they? They're 1 cup. These are Bernard and Mason jars, just the little fellows, because that's plenty for anything that we're going to do. If I need more, I can just open 2 jars. And I am just going to fill up the jars. I'm going to make sure that they're packed in there pretty good. Actually, I'm going to get a spoon for that. Make sure they're good and full. And move on to the next jar. And that is how simple it is. There's not a lot of things needed. I know I'm dripping everywhere. Now there's different recipes, including a cheesecake that I use these bits on. But we use them in ambrosia, which is kind of an old-fashioned thing these days, but we use them in ambrosia, and it definitely has a better texture than the old pineapple in the can in fruit cocktail. You know the one that we all grew up on. And, well, some of us still love it, let's face it. Fruit cocktail in a can is a pretty delicious delight. I think one of these days I'm going to make some fruit cocktail. In fact, I could have done it with this batch probably. And why not, right? Oh, that one's a little full. I'm going to take a couple pieces of that out. Now, folks, I hope you're having a great week. I just flung some on the floor. I hope that you're having a great week wherever you are in the world. And I'd love to hear where you are in the world and how things are in your area as far as weather, the economics of where you live, because it certainly has not gotten cheaper to live where I live. In fact, it's quite expensive here. I was trying to figure to express to you the amount of money we pay for things, but I guess if I'm telling you we're paying between $6.99 and $7.99 for a pineapple, that'll give you an idea of that. Our gasoline is $1.99 a liter, like $1.99.9, so say $2 a liter. And a liter is smaller than a quart, so we're talking about $8 for a gallon of gasoline where we live. And the prices don't look like they're going down anytime soon, sadly, because it would sure be a help for everyone if they did. And the price of rent. Well, I think I've gotten these jars all filled perfectly. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9 jars. Wouldn't you know it, just one too many for a canner load. Might put that one in the fridge. Anyway, I've got these jars filled. I'm just going to take a damp paper towel and I'm just going to damp it at the tap. We are so fortunate here where we live that our water comes from pure deep wells in the ground, and so only 2 times a year is our water ever treated with anything, and they do that so that it cleans the holding tanks that the water is in. And so it does it for 2 weeks a year. We have treated water. The rest of the time it's pure, unfiltered water. It is hard water, however. And so we have to put vinegar into our canning pots to keep the calcium buildup off of our jars. And you can sure tell when you've forgotten to do that, because the jars, I don't have any out here right now, but the jars get a white, hard water ring on them. Okay, that's all good. I've got my seals here ready to go. I've washed them as per the manufacturer's instructions, and I am just having a look at the lids before I put them on, make sure that there's no problem with them. I've never had any trouble with this company, but You never know. Things can happen anywhere. And so I'm just gonna put them all on. And then these, when I have all the rings on, are going to go into my water bath canner, and they're going to can for 20 minutes, and they will be a delightful treat in the dead of winter when fresh pineapple is a lot more than it is right now. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me today to take in a bit of my busy, crazy day, and to see how simple some of these things are. I hope we're demystifying some of the cloud that can be around canning. I could literally, and have, can these jars in this pot. I just need to put like something down, a barrier down in the bottom of the pot. I use a dish towel in the bottom of the pot. Fill it enough that when I put all the jars in there, the water comes to an inch over top of the jars, and use it as a canner. You don't need any fancy equipment to do that. And if you've got a stock pot, you can can pint jars. You just need to, again, put something, a barrier between the bottom of the jar and the pot, because these jars are pretty sensitive. So if they're right on the bottom, it's easy for them to overheat down there with the liquid inside still cold and have a reaction and blow the bottom out. Thermal shock. Thermal shock can also happen when you stop the process and you take the jars out and put them on a cold surface. So always take the jars out and put them on a towel on the counter. Put them someplace that you're not going to need to move them for 24 hours, just so that there's no barriers whatsoever in having a successful canning session. So folks, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please like this video, share it with your friends, share it on your Facebook. That would be a huge help to me. Also, subscribe to the channel. I will see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.